Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's everybody doing? Got some thumbs up. Everybody all right? Everybody all right? You doing okay? Cool. Well, welcome to Wealth Building Wednesday, our second of the year already. It's hard to believe that we are in the second month of the year, and we've got some really cool things in store for you today. Like we start all of our Wealth Building Wednesday calls, just want to start off and ask anybody if you had any wins in your wealth building journey from last month to this month. Always love to hear those things and celebrate with you. So if you have any wins, let us know. We'd love to celebrate those things. I don't know if you guys know this, but you are in the presence of greatness right now. George Kelly, the one and only George Kelly, was on the all leadership call yesterday, and he crushed it talking to all of the leaders across the country. So George Kelly is quickly going to be the person who is known for the wheel of growth in our company. I'm really excited for him.
Well, I'm excited. I got to meet Althea in person at the RD meeting a few months ago. And, you know, as somebody who, we talked about this in Train the Trainer yesterday about how like working for this company has literally helped change people's lives, right? And as one of the like original, like almost like you talk about the founding fathers of KW, the name Althea Osborne always gets brought up. So for me, it was very, very cool to actually meet her in person. I'm excited for everybody to get to see today.
Yes, it's very,
She remembers you, George. She said she remembers meeting you, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, don't worry, Matt. We love you too. It's just
no, I'm gonna put all the light on her. I mean, she just had her 89th birthday on Monday, so this woman's incredible.
Happy birthday!
Happy
birthday! Happy birthday! Hey there, Lewis.
I had a win.
How you doing, buddy?
Oh, we got a win right here.
Hey, Andy, what's going on?
I closed on my first rental property last week for myself,
Good for you, man.
and now I'm trying to figure out how to turn that into my next property.
Awesome, Andy. Tell us about the deal.
Well, it was off market, so I found it through a friend, and it was initially they were asking 160. I got it for $148,000. And I think the property's worth about 209,000. So I'm already got equity. After I put my down payment in for about 30 something thousand, we're looking at about $100,000 in equity almost.
Nice.
So now I just need to roll that into the next one and find a deal just as good as this one.
That's it. Awesome job, Andy. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Anybody else have any wins? I have a health win, if you guys don't mind me sharing. I've been on a health journey. I think that health is just as important as wealth. I think if you don't have a healthy body to live in, like what are you doing it all for? And so I hit 15 pounds improved since the beginning of the year this morning when I weighed myself, and I was really excited to see that. So I know that doesn't necessarily.
That's awesome.
Thank you. I know that doesn't necessarily correlate with like wealth or money in the bank, but I'm feeling really good. And I'm feeling like the energy and the clarity that I have right now is just going to help with all of the things that we're working on. So I was able to put pants on a little bit smaller yesterday, which felt good too.
Good for you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. All right, Matt, I'm gonna go right to you because I feel like everybody is like, we just want to hear from Matt King and Althea Osborne. So
Althea, she's the celebrity.
all right, so why don't you guys get started and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about who you are.
You go first.
I go first?
Introduce yourself. Tell them a little bit about you.
Okay, I'll tell. I might take all day if I went through 89 years, but I joined Gary 41 years ago when he had 5 people, and the journey has been amazing. And I think if you're lucky enough to plug into that and to get with it and to recruit as well as sell, you'll have a wonderful life.
I love it.
So my name is Matt King. I'm really fortunate to be around incredible people like Althea. I run her son's family office out of Austin, Texas. I've worked for
Another son.
David for the last 10 years. I also get to be the CEO of Gobundance. For those of you who don't know what Gobundance is it's an entrepreneurial mastermind group that Mike McCarthy, David Osborne, and a few others founded. We have about 938 members across the United States, all who have a net worth greater than 2 million, and a large majority who have a net worth greater than 5 million. So it's all about, not just building wealth like Michelle alluded to. It's about like creating legacy. I think there's 3 phases to life. There's struggle, success, and significance. And I think so many of us get lost in the success phase that we forget what this is all for. We forget why we're doing everything. And I think as Michelle, alluded to earlier, like health is wealth. Like without your health, wealth is irrelevant. Like you can have all the money in the world. Look at Steve Jobs. The guy was absolutely loaded. He gets cancer and he dies. What's all the money good for? Like it doesn't cure cancer. It doesn't stop illness. It doesn't stop disease. Death is coming for all of us. So you've got to make sure you stay healthy so that you can utilize that wealth to do good in the world. Otherwise, it's irrelevant.
Oh, love that, Matt. I love that. So I want to go to Althea first, if you don't mind, because she said that she's been on this journey with Gary for 40 years. And so Althea, like the early days of Keller Williams and thinking about, there's 40 years of lessons, or I don't even when you think about the journey that you have been on and you think about what you've learned over the last 40 years, are there any significant lessons that have fueled different parts of your life? Is there any 1 or 2 things that you can think about that stand out to you?
Well, I think when you get to be 80 or so, you think back at life and you begin to analyze what is important. And I think that the 2 most important things in life are integrity and relationships. Those 2 things take you wherever you want to go. And the other thing is that you look back and you will see there are 3 or 4 decisions you made in life, and you may have heard this from me before, because when I speak, I always say it, 3 or 4 decisions that change your life. Now, you make lots of decisions in life, but they don't change your life. And my 3 were not being a teacher, saying I wanted to travel, so joining the British Foreign Office, but actually it was the British Secret Service. Then it was marrying my husband, and then it was joining Gary Keller. Those are my 3. But you can't tell what they are until you're 70 or 80. And meanwhile, life goes along and you try to do the best to make the best of your life. And I think that you have to analyze what it's in real estate. Gary taught me that meeting people was the most, connecting with people. So now we use what do we call it? We're on the TV. I mean, on your
Phone? Your iPad?
Yes, all the people you know.
Oh, your contacts?
Yeah. Or your contacts when you start. I'm not starting. I've got 6,000 people that I've sold houses to or interacted with. And then I recruited South Africa. Then he put profit sharing in place. And then it was about recruiting. So I always say, do the thing. I sat 20 hours of open house a week in my first days of real estate. I don't know what I do today, but I know that open house would be one of them. But I just do it all the time so that people could drop in.
Yeah.
I don't know what I do today. So sorry, I'm getting lost.
You're good.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
And on the profit share, talk to everybody about it. If your school teachers, when I was in South Africa after my husband died 10 years ago, I saw Remax and Century 21. And they were talking about me because they had their family reunion this last week. And they put me up on the screen and said, if it wasn't for this lady, we wouldn't be all here. And it was so exciting to watch that. And the only reason I did it was I saw Remax out there and I saw Century 21 and I thought, my goodness, if they're here, we could be here. So I talked to several agents and they gave me Johan's name. And Johan started it and now they have 20 offices in South Africa, all because of my call. So it's what you do every day and how you connect that builds your business, I think.
Yeah. That's, I mean, you make it sound so simple, right? You make it sound like it's so simple. Was there ever any fear that you had about making these connections, or were you like, I'm just gonna go out there and do it and I don't care? Just, was there ever a moment where you had to make the conscious decision to do it, to make the call, to make the connections, to do those things, or is it just part of who you are as a person?
I think it's part of the career, and I think that every no leads to a yes. And I remember Gary telling us, you probably get 100 no's before you get a yes. So when I got a no, I'd say, oh, good, that's one now. How many more have I got to go before my yes? But I had a wonderful mother. I grew up in the war, the Second World War. We had air raids and stuff. And she taught me not to be afraid of anything. So I am not afraid of anything or anybody. So if people don't like me, I'd say, oh, good, that's another no. Now I've got a yes. And I go forward positively. And my clients are so, when I had my 88th party last year, David gave a party for me. And 5 of my clients came and bought houses with me 35 years ago. And they're still giving me their houses and their friends and because it's about relationships. It's not about gifts that you give. It's not about money. It's about connection and connecting to each person in their own world.
Yeah.
And everybody has a different world.
Yeah, I would just add, like, I've been able to watch Althea in action for the last 10 years. And for all of you on this call, like, I'm sure you all are students of life, or you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be caring about wealth. And so I'm a student of life. And, I think the best way to learn is through watching incredible people who have done amazing things and just studying them and paying attention to the little nuances. This lady will invite any person, it could be a serial killer, a bank robber, her cousin, her uncle, over to her house for wine on the terrace. And she gets them into her environment where she feels comfortable. She creates an environment where they feel comfortable, they feel welcomed, and then she just starts asking questions. And people will open up like flowers. They feel like they're in almost like a therapy session, because you have this incredible woman who's actually listening to you, actually paying attention, not looking at her phone, pauses the TV, and sits there and connects with you. But she listens for that one little nugget, that one little place she can help somebody. And then she will go a mile deep, helping them relentlessly and making sure that they feel seen, heard, and loved. And that's what keeps attracting them back to her continuously. It's incredible. She's got an incredible gift at it. But you can build the muscle if you're disciplined enough. Like, I've built the muscle where I now listen for that one thing, and I look for that little place where I can dig deep and help them and stay connected and build a relationship, because I know relationships are all we can ask for, and relationships are going to lead to whatever else you could be seeking.
Yeah. I loved one of the things that Althea said was, it's not about the gifts. It's not about, right, the money. It's about the relationship. And I think that is really important if you think about all of the business that we're in right now, and everyone's looking for that get rich quick, right? They're looking for the easiest way. They're looking for I need the leads, but really it's about building the relationships and with the people that already care about you, like you, trust you, respect you, and going deeper into those. And those are the people who can be your best advocates and supporters. So I think that, Althea, you're so spot on with that. With the fact that,
I mean, look at Andy, right? Andy said he just closed on his first deal last week, but somebody brought him that deal. He didn't, a relationship, a connection brought him that deal. Now, 10 weeks ago, if Andy was on this call, he would have said, like, I'm a little nervous to do my first investment property. I've never done it before. And fear for me is like standing on the edge of a cliff. You're looking at the ocean and you're looking down and you're going like, oh my gosh, that ocean is really scary. But what we don't understand about fear is when we jump off that cliff, the ocean's only like an inch deep. Like, we're not going to die. We're going to be able to stand. We're going to be able to look around and go, oh, well, this is pretty easy. I can do this. And so now Andy, you're looking at him getting like, now I want to do my next deal, and then my next deal, and my next deal. Now we're going to be on this call a year from now, and Andy's going to go, I got 5 real estate deals that my relationships brought me that I was scared to do prior to this Wealth Building Wednesday. And now here I am jumping in feet first and going like, this pond's not that deep. I'm going to be okay. And even if things go bad, I've got an incredible network, like the 58 other people on this call, to lean on and go, hey, what should I do? And those relationships will help me navigate any problem that pops up.
True.
Yes. Matt, one of the things that you're responsible in your current role is helping to nurture relationships and nurture connections. So let's kind of back up a little bit, because I do want to get into how important it is to have such a strong network of people that you're working alongside of, that you can share your celebrations and share your losses and share your struggles. But your story starts back 10 years ago when you started working. I mean, the first time I ever met you, you were working with David Osborne and I was working with Mike McCarthy, and we were kind of like, how do we do this stuff that they need help with?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I remember the first Greater PA, I think it was a wealth building event you had where you brought in a bunch of speakers. And if I remember correctly, David had some stupid stuffed lion he took on stage. I still don't really remember why he did that, but yeah.
Like, what do we do with this lion?
Yeah.
It was Ty's. It was Mike McCarthy's son Ty's lion that he took from Mike's house.
That's right.
How to try to navigate how we were going to get this huge stuffed lion around.
That's right. That's
yeah.
right.
So we
That's
did
right.
that together. That was our first project that we ever worked on together. So when you think about, starting with David, I mean, I feel like you've had to have learned so much in the course of that time period. But when you started working for David, what were some of the things that you were hoping that you would get from that relationship?
Yeah, so I mean, you've asked a lot of questions in one question, which I love those questions because I can go any direction.
Exactly.
But I would tell you all this. So I dropped out of college about 18 months in. I had the opportunity to start my own business printing t-shirts and vinyl signs. I did that while I was in school. And part of the way through school, I had an opportunity to either print 300 shirts and make $3,000 or go take a test. And I was like, well, one I'm paying $3,000 for, the other I'm making $3,000 for. And at that moment, I decided school wasn't for me at that moment in time. And I dropped out. Now I've never gone back. And there's part of me, like from a grandmother's perspective, my grandma nags me constantly. My mom nags me constantly. I think at some point I'll go get the degree. I'm just trying to find a place I can buy it so I don't actually have to go to the school for it. But I never graduated college. But what I tell everybody all the time is, like, I've gotten an MBA in life through the experiences that I've had with David, the experiences that I've had with people like Althea, the experiences that I've had with people like you, Michelle, or Mike McCarthy. Like, life is all about experiences. And you said, like the power of the network. There's this concept called Metcalfe's Law. And Metcalfe's Law essentially says that the power of a network is in direct proportion to the amount of nodes inside of the network. So if you think of it in terms of you and your friend, if it's you and your friend, there's one line of connection. There's 2 nodes, 1 connection. You add a third person, now there's 3 nodes, 3 connections. But when all of a sudden you start adding 4, 5, 6, 7 nodes, the amount of connections starts to increase drastically. And if all of a sudden you take that up to 10 connections, now we're talking about 100 plus 10 nodes, we're talking about 100 plus connections inside of that network. And so if you really want to study the power of network, the power of community, the power of having a group like this, just research Metcalfe's Law. It's what the internet was built on. The power of the network is how many nodes we can put in the network. So cell phone towers, for instance, the stronger the signal, the more towers in your area. Like, your life is the same. The more nodes inside of your network, the more powerful your community can be. And when I joined David, I just had this intuition. Althea said it spot on. We have about 3 to 4 decisions in our lifetime that change our destiny. Now, I'll be a little bit more dramatic than she was. I think we have 3 or 4 decisions in our lifetime that change the destiny of generations to come inside of our families. And, like, what a cool honor that is to have that choice. And so when I met this guy named David Osborne, I just had inside of me this, like, weird intuitional feeling that was like, man, this guy is incredible. I see a lot of myself in this guy. Like, I would like to become like him someday. And I remember telling my dad, when I told my dad we were going to move to Austin, Texas, and he told me we were crazy. I said, Dad, I don't know what it is, but I'm telling you, this guy could change our family's economic destiny. My dad's like, I don't even know what that means. I was like, just let me go do my thing. And my parents are super supportive. They let me go do my thing. But I just knew inside of me that, like, if you look at, I'm a big sports guy. So if you look at successful athletes, most successful athletes follow behind a successful athlete that they learn from. Like, I'm a Packers fan. Look at Jordan Love. He sat behind Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre. So I was like, well, shoot, if I can go sit behind the Aaron Rodgers and learn from him, even if I never get into the game, if we win the Super Bowl, I'm getting a ring. And I don't need the credit. I don't need the accolades. I just want the success. And the success could be a ring, right? The championship ring. So I said, I'm going to go work for this guy named David Osborne, and I'm going to understand that proximity is power. And through osmosis, I'm going to learn as much as I possibly can. Now, the thing I didn't recognize that I do today is that service is the Trojan horse to knowledge. So if you want to learn anything in this world, find somebody doing it and figure out how to serve them. If you want to learn how to do open houses, call the best open house person in your area. Say, I'm going to pick you up at 10 for the open house. I'm going to nail your signs into the street. I'm going to open the door. I'm going to bake the cookies, and I'm just going to watch you work. And if you serve somebody, they will give you knowledge. They will give you all of the information that they have because you're giving them something in return. And so anytime I want to learn something, I just try to serve. And that's what I did for David. For the first 3 years, it was like, I literally remember David was late every single day in getting out of the house to go to his meetings. And I was like, man, like this isn't that hard, dude. Like the meetings are like 9, they're not at like 5:30. Like we got some time here. What's going on? And every single time I noticed he couldn't find his wallet, he couldn't find his journal, and he couldn't find his sunglasses. And so it was like this mad dash every time before he left the house of like, oh, where's my journal, my sunglasses, my wallet? So finally one day I was like, well, what if I just put all of that stuff in his car, backed the car out of the garage, faced it forward out of the driveway, so there's literally no barriers to entry, just like straight ahead go, would we be on time? And the first couple of days he was on time, and it was so easy. I mean, what I realized later was he just liked to be late for meetings, so it didn't really matter what I did. But yeah, and the airport. But what I realized is if I served him, I learned. So all of a sudden, everything was in the car. And then he was like, hey, do you want to come to the meeting? And then it was like, hey, I'm going to take calls in the car while we're on the way to the meetings. Just shut up. And I'm like sitting there taking notes. And then I was in the meetings taking notes. And then I was on the calls taking notes. And then, I was slowly on the calls saying something. And now it's to the point where I'm super lucky to be running these calls, to running these conversations, to doing these negotiations. And he trusts me to do it because I studied under him for the last 10 years.
Yep. So you learned by watching and just to your point, proximity. So how could we relate that to what the agents are going, like the agents on this call and the leaders on this call? So proximity could be that you just work alongside and you align yourself with someone who has a doing something that you really want to do. Can you think of any other ways that we could make that connection for them?
Yeah, so like Andy's a great example. Andy just bought his first property, right? If you haven't bought a property, what better person to reach out to than Andy, who just bought his first property? So you call Andy and you say, hey, Andy, I heard what you said on Wealth Building Wednesday. I just wanted to congratulate you, celebrate you, so excited for you. And hey, I was wondering, what would it take to earn coffee with you? Andy's gonna be like, coffee with me? Anytime. What do you want to do, right? And then you get with Andy and you say, hey, how did you do it? What bank did you use? What were your fears? Hey, I'm feeling this. What did you feel? How did you overcome that? Who's going to manage it? What lease did you use? And Andy, because you're giving him significance and you recognize him, is going to go, well, here's the lease I use. Let me make an introduction to my banker. This is how I analyze the property. Here's the formulas I used to make sure it was a good deal. And the next thing you know, you just learned everything you need to know about doing your first investment deal inside of your market.
That's it.
Poor Andy. I know he's going to get like 72 calls.
Andy, we'll just set up a group call. Just leave that.
Feel free. I'm here. It happens that my second office is a coffee shop, so
there you go.
It works out.
When I just did one of my first sales, the guy I sold said, oh, my last realtor gave me a garage door opener when I was building my house. Would you give me one? And I said, look, I'm a professional. I do not give gifts, but I do have parties. And I used to have what I called sundowner parties for all my customers. And I invite the 4 or 5 most important ones who became CEOs. The CEO, James Clardy, was the CEO of AMD. And and then I would invite every couple that had bought the year before, which is quite a lot. And so I'd end up having 100 people to my house. I do very simple wine and cheese. I still do that with people. I have my entrepreneurs group. I have a group of agents. People will call and say, can I bring my top agents to your house out there and have wine and cheese? And I say yes. And it's connecting with these people. So every year I do it 3 times a year, and they'd all be invited, about 100 people. I did the food myself. I did Bob's Dip, one big dish from Costco's, and
Wine.
fruit and wine and cheese and pate. And I'd invite the 5 most important people, and then 50 other couples, anybody who bought a house with me in the last 10 years. And I hired 2 bartenders, one for the top deck and one for the lower deck. And I bought the wine myself. I just had the bar. So it wasn't that expensive, considering I had about 100 people. And I did it 3 times a year. And that made when my husband died and I stopped doing it, they called me, say, am I off your list? Why am I not coming? And I said, sorry, I'm not doing it anymore, but you can come to my small group if you're nice enough. So it's connecting, it's relationships.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say, Michelle, is just like, so hey, you want to learn something, and how do you get proximity? Like, Elon Musk doesn't know it, but he was a mentor of mine for the last 6 months. Steve Jobs doesn't know it, but he was a mentor of mine before that. The world that we're in has so much connectivity and so much power inside of it from a knowledge perspective through podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube clips, live speeches, recorded speeches. All you got to do is take those little Apple, I still use the corded headphones because I'm a little OCD about the EMF, but you got to take those little Apple earbuds, put them in your ear, click play, and absorb as much as you possibly can from whoever you're looking up to in whatever space. If it's about launching rocket ships to the moon, listen to Elon Musk. If it's about building a 7th level team, listen to Think Like a CEO by Gary Keller. If it's about mastering how to monetize your CRM, go learn as much as you can from Russell Brunson or whatever the ClickFunnels guy's name is, right? So every single one of us has the ability to tap into endless amounts of advisors, peers, role models, mentors, whatever you want to call them. They don't have to know it's a one-way street. You're just receiving. You're not giving anything, but you can absorb as much information as you possibly want through podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube, etc. You've just got to be willing to turn off the radio on your drive and listen to the content instead of the music.
Jeff Hoffman we both know who Jeff Hoffman is. When he talks, Jeff Hoffman was the founder of Priceline, and he has this whole thing where he will go out and seek information that has nothing to do with what he is currently in, the field that he is currently in. But what he is finding is that when you go outside of the normal bubble, you actually find ideas that are working in other industries that you can really just parlay that information into what you're doing for your own company, for your own thing. And he had, he tells the story that his 5-year-old granddaughter, his 5-year-old granddaughter came to work with him one day, and she was in that why phase. Anybody have children or have been a child who have, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Well, why is this way? And why is this way? And he says that his granddaughter came along with him to work one day and was asking why questions. Well, what is this? And why do you do that? And blah, blah, blah. And they got to a certain part of the shop that he was in. And she goes, well, what is this? And he had no idea. And he goes, well, let's ask this person. And they asked all these people and had no idea. It comes to find out they had this like printing machine that they were spending like thousands of dollars on every single year, and no one had any idea what this thing actually did. And I think in proximity, just thinking about where we're at right now and just learning from different people and absorbing different knowledge, like for me, I heard that and I go, I need to go through my market center. I need to go through my business with a completely fresh set of eyes. Like I'm a 5-year-old. And I'm going to ask myself why questions. Why are we doing this? What purpose does this serve? All of those things. And I was able to identify like hundreds of dollars a month of things that we weren't doing. And so to your point, Matt, it's about proximity. It's about picking mentors. And he is a mentor of mine and didn't even know it, right? Yeah. I just heard this information and relate it to what we were doing. So
yeah, I think that's super wise. And the other thing I would tell you all is, and you just alluded to it, your life and the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the quality of questions you're asked or ask yourself. So if you want to change your life, change the questions. So many people say, well, well, we can't do that, or here's why we can't do that. Instead ask yourself, like, who do we have to become in order to do that? Who do I have to meet in order to learn how do I do that? What relationship do I need to make that can help me navigate that? Who do I need to hire to take this off my plate? And if you start asking yourself more quality questions, you'll see your life start to unfold in a good direction for you and your future.
Yeah. So Matt, you started working for David. You started to take on more and more responsibility. How did that change your life personally? Because I can see that it would change your life and the level of success that you were having on the professional side of your development. But on the personal side of your development, how did working with David and watching him change that side for you?
Yeah, so, I am one of those people that I don't believe that there's a line between business and personal. Like, I believe that I'm living one life and it's all intertwined and I've got to balance it all at the same time. Like, I can't compartmentalize my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old and compartmentalize work. And when I'm with my kids, not think about work. And when I'm with work, not think about my kids. Like, life just for me doesn't work that way. But what I learned from David more than anything is to have a vision for your life. Like, each and every one of you should have a vision for your life. And I learned that from David. And I didn't just have a vision for my life on the wealth building side. I didn't have a vision for my life on the professional side. I have a vision for my life across every garden of my life: spiritual, contribution, personal, health, wealth, relationships with my wife, friends, family, etc. So I started having a vision for my life. And once you have a vision for your life, what starts to unfold is you're able to have more awareness around the choices you want to make. So if each and every one of you have a 5-year vision for your life and an opportunity is thrown at you tomorrow, you now have this new filter, this new lens that you can run that option through to say, is this in alignment with where I'm trying to go in 5 years? And if it's like, hey, I want to get to like Michelle, it sounds like you're on a great health journey. If Michelle wants to be on this great health journey and continue on this great health journey, and her friend calls her tomorrow and says, hey, you want to go get beer, chicken wings, and French fries? Michelle looks at the vision she has for her life and says, hey, I'm sorry, I can't make tomorrow. Let me know if next Tuesday you want to go for a walk around the lake because it's supposed to be 60. So she uses that vision to make a different decision rather than letting just life kind of get thrown at her and taking someone else's vision and making it her own. So I learned to have a vision. And what that's done for me is it's allowed me to be a better husband. It's allowed me to be a better father. It's allowed me to be a better son. It's helped me get healthier. It's helped me create better relationships personally because I'm more intentional. And I think so many of us get caught sleepwalking through life. And if we can find a little intentionality in every single day, it will compound like a snowman. And that snowball going down the hill will just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the momentum builds, and all of a sudden you find yourself living this really, really intentional life. And what's beautiful about that is it's your intentional life, not someone else's intentional life for you.
Yeah. Yeah. How you've talked about hearing a lot of information from different sources and having different mentors. Have you come up with a way to distill your own thoughts through what you're learning? And do you know what I'm asking? Go ahead.
Yeah. So the way I distill my own thoughts is I do R&D. And most of you are going to say, wow, you do research and development. No. Remember, I dropped out of college. I rip off and I duplicate. I say, okay, that's your thought. Let me play with that a little bit. Let me make that my own. And now let me sit with it. Let me feel it. Okay, cool. It resonates with me. Now I can actually start to embody that thought and actually live that life. Like I've been doing a lot of research on failure because I'm writing a book right now on failure. And so I'm reading like Michael Jordan's perspective on failure, Tim Grover's perspective on failure, Colin O'Brady's perspective on failure. This is a guy who walked across Antarctica by himself unassisted. It took like 50 days at -30 degrees. So like I'm learning about them and I'm learning what their perspective on failure is. And then I tweak it. I make it my own. And then I apply it to my life and go, does this fit? Does this not fit? So, the way I make things my own or the way I process my own thoughts is through R&D, rip off and duplicate. I think copying is the greatest form of flattery any one of us can experience. If somebody copies you, it's because they look up to you, they idolize you, they believe in you, they're trusting you, they see your success. So I idolize people. I look up to them and go, I really like what you said. I'm going to twist it a little bit, make it my own, and then I'm going to use it. And nobody has complained yet. And it's served me thus far. And it's helped me really take complex thoughts and make them my own. One of them is this concept around an investment thesis. So y'all are on this wealth building journey, or you wouldn't be here on Wealth Building Wednesday. Each and every one of you should have an investment thesis for your life, for your personal wealth building journey. Warren Buffett has an investment thesis. Steve Jobs had an investment thesis. Jeff Bezos has an investment thesis. Like, all successful folks have an investment thesis. Warren Buffett, his investment thesis is rule number 1, protect your downside. Rule number 2, see rule number 1 through. So he's all about downside protection. Don't lose capital. So when I was trying to come up with my investment thesis, I had the good fortune of being able to meet the owner of the Cincinnati Reds. And I asked the head of his family office, how do you guys think about risk as I'm trying to build my investment thesis? And he gave me this long, like, he's a Harvard guy. He gave me this long, articulate, drawn out, well said, very, clear, but I was still confused. But what I heard was, risk is a lack of knowledge and a lack of controls. If you have the right controls and you have the knowledge around the deal, you're never taking risks, you're just making decisions. So I took this really complex thing he taught me, and I was like, can't handle that, college dropout, let me make it super simple. And I was like, wow, risk is not bad. Risk is just a lack of knowledge or a lack of control. So I don't take risks in my life. I have the right controls in place for my investments, or I have the knowledge. If I can't get the knowledge, I won't do the deal. I don't take those blind shots anymore. So that's kind of how I think about it. Does that answer that for you, Michelle?
Yeah. So talk to me more about how did you develop your investment thesis? Like, what were some of the things, or what are some of the things on yours that maybe we can rip off and duplicate?
Yeah, so I looked at like the Forbes billionaire list, right? Like, probably won't ever be on it, but it'd be cool someday to be on it, because I think you could do a lot of good for the world, not because you get some amazing plaque and people rub your feet or anything special. I just think, like, with a lot of money, you can do a lot of good. And I think, like, one of the things I was put on this planet to do is to do a lot of good. And I looked at what all of them did, and all of them had control of their own thing. Now, it doesn't mean you have to have control of your own Keller Williams brokerage. It doesn't mean you have to have control of your own industry company like Keller Williams 2.0, but can you have control of your own team? Can you have control of your own book of business? Can you have control of your own CRM? So for me, Michelle, one of my things is control. So I don't invest in things that I can't control, because nobody on this earth is going to care about my money as much as I care about my money. So I'm not going to give my money to a wealth manager and say, hey, whatever you want to do, no problem. And by the way, if we lose some money, I still pay you a fee. If we make some money, I still pay you a fee. No. I want control, because I looked at that billionaires list and I was like, wow, all these people have control. And so one of the parts of my investment thesis, Michelle, is like, I only do things that I have control in, because I don't want to be held hostage by someone else's vision for my life.
Yeah. Oh, that's really smart. Any other pieces that you think are important?
Yeah, so like my investment thesis is about control. It's about roll up ability. Like, I want to be able to compound things and make them better. So like Andy's doing with his investment properties, if all of a sudden he layers in 5, 6, 7, he's going to get some efficiencies of scale. It's going to reduce his costs. He's going to be able to be a little bit more efficient. So I only invest in opportunities where I can create a roll-up type scenario where I can stack things on top of each other and create an efficiency, save a little bit of money, make the deal better for myself. And then the other thing I pay attention to, just because right now I'm in a position where I'm primarily W-2/1099, is I want tax efficient investments. Like, I don't need any more tax inefficient income. Like, I have enough of that, right? So I'm looking for tax efficient investments. What that means is, if you called me tomorrow with a hard money deal that's paying a current pay interest rate, I'd probably say no, because that's going to be received as income because of the interest sort of allocation. I don't need any more income. If you said, hey, we get to buy this asset, we get to take the bonus depreciation, which maybe they'll bring back to 100% this year, but we get to take the bonus depreciation, and you're going to pay long-term capital gains on the gains over time. I'm like, yeah, that fits my thesis right now. That sounds more interesting to me.
Yeah. If you guys didn't get a chance to watch Wealth Building Wednesday last month, Nick Wallner talked a lot about this concept of, bonus depreciation and all of that. So I'm going to refer you back to that one, because that was a really good call. And he went into some pretty significant detail on what that means and how you can use that to pay. His goal was to pay 0 in taxes. if that
Yeah, I mean,
piques
that
your interest.
I like paying taxes because it means you're making money. I don't love it. I don't want it to be a bajillion dollars, but if it's a bajillion dollars, that means you made 30 bajillion or whatever the numbers are. Like, you're only
Yeah.
paying taxes when you make money. So, the one thing you got to be careful of is you never want to let the tax tail wag the dog. Like, you never want to let the tax benefit push you into a deal. The deal's got to be good by itself. And then the tax is the cherry on top, or the tax benefits the cherry on top. But there's so many strategies out there, and you guys are all in an industry where you have a license to print money and you have a license to find investments for yourself. Like, you guys are in the best industry possible for building wealth. You just have to have a vision for your life and be intentional about it.
I love that. So Matt, let's kind of fast forward, and you're in an organization now called Gobundance, and you said it has nearly 1,000 members, and it's, in order to get into this organization, you have to have a net worth of $2 million. And it's really just a group of very entrepreneurial, and Gobundance, it's men, they have a women's division as well, that come together, and they have some core beliefs as part of being part of that organization. And I know you focus on not just your actual wealth, but there's a whole bunch of other things that you focus on, and you've alluded to them earlier. Could you give everybody a little bit more about what are the things that the men in this organization and women in this organization focus on?
So anybody on this call that's made some money or had a goal around money, like maybe it was to get to $1 million of net worth, or maybe it was to buy your first rental property, whatever your goal is. What happens when you achieve your goal and it's money-based is you realize it's empty. Like, your money's not going to come cuddle with you in bed and give you a kiss on the cheek and said, "That a boy, like, good job, we did it." Like, it doesn't matter, right? It's just a dirty piece of paper. And so at the end of the day, you have to recognize that there's more to life than just the money. And that when you get in alignment with the other gardens of your life, that the money will flow much more effortlessly. So what Michelle is doing is brilliant for her health. The healthier you are, the wealthier you will become. The better your relationships are, the wealthier you'll become. The more you focus on contribution, the more you'll make to be able to give back. So in Gobundance, what we focus a lot on is like sort of whole life abundance, not just around money, health abundance, bucket list adventure abundance, contribution abundance, spiritual abundance, whatever that means for you, whether it's, God, doesn't matter, like, could be just an energy, whatever it is for you, and focusing on just getting 1% better every day. If you're focused on being the best husband possible, the best leader possible inside of your business, the best cold caller that there ever has been, the money will all flow. That's all going to come as a byproduct of you focusing on being the best version of yourself as you possibly can be.
Yeah. Are there any common themes that you see with the individuals that belong to that organization?
Yeah, what I would tell you is all of the problems boil down to one of three things. Like, every human's problems boil down to one of three things. They don't feel seen, they don't feel loved, and they don't feel heard. Like, if you dig deep, deep, deep into someone's problems, you keep asking, like, why does that bother you? Why does that bother you? Why does it bother you? It's going to be one of those three things. And I would tell you that a common theme that I see from a lot of the Gobundance guys is that the money didn't solve their problem. They thought, oh, once I get to this net worth, my relationship with my wife's going to be good. Once I get to this net worth, my kids are going to love me. Once I get to this income, everything's going to be easy. It doesn't change. You have to change from the inside out. Like, you have to go work on yourself. You have to go work on that relationship. And then the money will help supercharge it, but it's not going to fix it. It's not going to, maybe it'll band-aid it for a minute because you can buy her a nice ring and it makes her happy for 13 seconds. But at the end of the day, money isn't going to solve your problems. And that's like probably the most common theme we see.
Okay. Any themes in terms of, what they invest in or their mindset around investing that you've seen?
Yeah. Go an inch wide and a mile deep. So if y'all are in real estate, so go an inch wide and go a mile deep in real estate. Only focus on real estate. If somebody, your brother's brother calls you and says, "Hey man, I got this really good oil and gas deal. You want to invest in it? It's going to be a home run." Look at your investment thesis, look at your area of core competence and say, is that in my inch wide, mile deep strike zone, or is that in my mile wide, inch deep strike zone? You never want to go a mile wide and an inch deep with your investments. Focus on your area of expertise and go a mile deep there. There is so much opportunity in real estate. And if that's what y'all are focused on, don't go outside of real estate until you've amassed a certain amount of passive income or you've amassed a certain amount of wealth. You know, once you've done that, sure, go buy Bitcoin, sure, go buy crypto, like, yeah, go dabble in all that other stuff, have fun. But understand you could do the same thing and go to Vegas and at least get a beer for free. Like, crypto is gambling. You might kill it. You might hit a home run. Like I said, at least in Vegas, they let you drink for free while you're gambling. And so I just try to focus on my area of core competence and go, again, an inch wide and a mile deep and really, really hone in on my skills.
Love that. So I dropped a question in the chat channel. If you guys have questions, raise your hand like the one and only George Kelly, and we'll be able to come to you guys. Questions for Matt or Althea. So George, I'm coming to you.
Hi.
Hey, so Matt, if you're just one of us and, you know, we're thinking about the space of networking that, you know, you've been so successful in Gobundance, would you join a group or build a group?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I am one of you. Like, I put my socks on the same exact way y'all put your socks on, 1 foot at a time. I put my pants on the same way y'all put your pants on, 1 leg at a time. I would join a group. There's too much distraction in trying to create a group. And, you know, until I got everything I could possibly desire from the groups that already exist, I would just join a group. I would then start a group once I had amassed enough knowledge and felt like I got everything that there was to get from the group. But I think there's so many opportunities in this world for each and every one of us to plug into, whether it's the church group, Wealth Building Wednesdays, you know, whatever you could possibly think of. There's tons of opportunity for us to become a part of a community. I would focus on the existing ones first, because otherwise the path to resistance, you know, like, there's too many excuses as to why I'm not going to start it or why to go slow. So like, I'm always looking for the path of least resistance. And the path of least resistance is like, oh, wow, the men's church group meets already on Tuesday. I'm going on Tuesday morning, 7:30, or whatever that is for you, right? I would find something and snap my ship to it first.
Love that. Pretty.
Hey, hi, hi everybody. I'm new. I'm first day today, so I'm so excited, Matt.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I do a lot of things. So I just wanted to take some rich information. How can I connect everything together? Because of my financial and banking and accounting background, I do my stock market investment on my own.
Yeah.
And because in my real estate, I wanted to connect two together. I thought about REITs and all these things, but then I found it's a little hazy. So I really didn't go out of my comfort zone
Yep.
to do on REITs. I'm
Yep.
still managing with ETFs, mutual fund, and direct securities and all these things. And recently I got my financial license, like a financial financial planner and advisor and health. So there are too much of rich things with me. I'm trying to utilize. Don't know, as you just mentioning a little bit, I know my question is not getting direct right now. When you say happiness, I started thinking to do little something which I feel like, doing really for out of compassion and just a passion. So the health insurance came onto my plate, which I'm really helping people and getting a lot of fulfillment. That's on the side, on the happiness you are talking about.
Yeah.
But I really want to know, how do I correlate my real estate and the investment experience and make out of it a good use?
Yeah, if you chase 2 rabbits, you catch none. So I would
I
pick
know.
1 rabbit to chase. I would chase 1 rabbit and I would chase it relentlessly. If it's finance, chase finance relentlessly. If it's real estate, chase real estate relentlessly. Until I had a big hold on that market, I wouldn't go chasing other things. If you looked at David's balance sheet, you'd be like, wow, this guy is in everything. But he didn't get into everything until after he was in real estate for 20 years. Like, he didn't go outside of real estate at all. You know, I would tell you that I think, like, one of the things I would, if we had more time, I'd really dig into is, what does your life look like in 5 years? What are you doing? What's the house look like? Where are you sitting? What's your office look like? And I would only make decisions right now that serve that 5-year vision, whether that be real estate or finance. I mean, there's so many shiny objects in this world you can chase, and you're going to find more just Googling it. The Google machine's incredible. But at the end of the day, like I said, if you chase 2 rabbits, you catch none. So you've got to pick one and chase it relentlessly until you've got it in your grasp. control it, dominate that market, and then go, okay, now I can go outside of that. I would use your finance background as an unfair advantage in real estate, as how to educate people on how buying a house or buying real estate is an investment and it's an asset that can feed them over a lifetime if they use it properly. And I would use that finance to educate buyers and sellers as to why real estate. And that would just be, again, my thing, because I think y'all have a license to print money in real estate, but you've got to figure out what your vision is and how it fits your vision.
You just told my mind. I already preparing some seminar on for buyers and sellers to how to plan and act in this current market situation. And exactly, I'm telling that why to buy and what to keep in mind buying and selling time in this market condition, and how you can twist. The house is a big investment of life. It can take you to up to retirement planning, talking to a reverse mortgage and a lot of things. So I'm already working on it, as you just mentioned.
That's awesome. That's great. That's great. All right, Lois Nixon, I see you have your hand raised.
All right. So I got a quick question. It's really quick for both you and Althea.
Putting you on the spot.
Althea involved in here a little bit. So the question I have for Althea is, throughout the 40 years, I mean, you talked about, and I think Matt said, like, you ask a lot of questions to the people that you're talking to about Keller Williams and the company and the amazing things. What are some of the best questions or the key questions that you've asked people during those conversations that you're having with them?
Well, I think that when you first meet people in business, in real estate, you have to find out what kind of person they are. So I ask questions that tell me what kind of person they are. Like, do you watch TV? Do you go to movies? And then when I'm driving, I'd say, if they get nervous, I say, don't worry, I'm not going to kill you before you buy a house. And if they laugh, I know they're fun. And I've got them in the car for 2 more hours, so they'll forget that question.
That's good.
And when you find out what kind of person they are, then you become the kind of person they want to be with. Because you can't be too chatty if they're very serious. And you can't be too serious if they're very chatty. So 4 types of people there are. I think Gary taught me that. He taught me a lot. And then also, I think, what was the other question?
No, that was it. That was good. That was
That
great.
was it.
But you got to understand, like, this lady would go to an open house held by somebody else, like Coldwell, whoever, like Sotheby's, whatever you could think of. And she would wait till the agent, like, she could corner and trap the agent. Or when they came to her open house, she'd wait till they were in, like, the master closet, and she would go trap them and, like, well, tell me why you're with Coldwell. What do you like about Sotheby's? And, like, she would just hammer them, like, well, you should come to my house sometime and we should talk. I'd love to tell you about what we're up to at Keller Williams. I'd love to tell you about profit share. She would invite them over for wine. Like, we were looking at houses for David 5 years ago. And, like, here's this 83-year-old woman cornering an agent and going, why are you with that brokerage? Have you thought about Keller Williams? Like, still recruiting. Like, she doesn't stop. It's relentless.
I always say it's got to be here in your mind, not at the back of your shoulders, you know, because it's as important as your sales.
Yeah, that's so good. Thank you, Althea. Real quick, Matt. So we had the pleasure of having John Maxwell around. He gave us his 7 questions that he asked people when he's meeting with them. One of his questions were, what experiences have you had that we need to have, right? And so I'd love to know, like, what's an experience that you've had in your time being around Althea and David that, you know, again, we can't maybe be around them, but we can try to do the same thing.
Yeah, so this wasn't around David and Althea. 2 years ago, I wrote a bull, like a live bull, like never done it before in my life. I was like, I live in Texas now, I need to ride a bull. And I would tell you the experiences that I've had in my life that y'all can duplicate and replicate is put yourself in a position 1 time a year where you're scared shitless, excuse my language, and overcome that experience in spite of the fear. So I was like, I'm going to ride a bull. People are like, why are you going to ride a bull? I'm like, because if that 2,000-pound animal that wants to absolutely kill me isn't successful in killing me, that $10 million deal is going to feel like a cakewalk. Making that call I don't want to make is going to feel like a cakewalk. So I would tell you the experiences that I've had in my life that you all can duplicate and replicate is just find fear and choose in spite of fear every single year. This year, I'm going to go skydiving. Like, still don't know why that's a good idea. I'm going to go skydiving. Why? because I can't imagine the feeling about getting ready to jump out of a plane and how that's going to feel. And then when all of a sudden I have that same feeling when I want to buy my first investment, or I want to go and, set that crazy goal, I'm going to go, well, I can't die from this. Like, I could have died if the parachute didn't open or whatever. Right. And so now it makes all of those other choices seem so small and so easy. And then, like, I'm not as disciplined as John Maxwell, so I don't have like the 7 questions, but the one question I always ask people is, what question didn't I ask you that I should have asked you?
Well, you
and
just took my question, Matt.
Oh, sorry.
That's how I always end. So what is the one question that I should have asked you that I didn't, as we wrap up
Yeah,
today?
that's a good question. That's a good question. I think y'all asked a lot of really good questions. I think the one thing that we could have probably dug into a little bit more on is goal setting. Like, so you take your vision and then you set goals around it. But at the end of the day, like, the beautiful part about this world is like, I'm an open book. So I think the one question, Michelle, to answer your question would be like, how do we get in touch with you if we have more questions? And I would just tell you, like, my email is matt@gobundance.com. You can message me on Facebook, Instagram, all the BS stuff. I've gotten to where I've gotten in my life because people took the call, people answered the questions, people poured into me, people gave it to me. And it's like my job and my duty to give it back to as many people as I possibly can. And I certainly don't have all of the answers, but I'm fortunate to have incredible people like Althea Osborne who have pretty damn near close all the answers. I mean, this is a lady who saves freaking tinfoil from restaurants because she grew up in the World War. Like, she's had experiences I'll never experience in my life, but I can learn from those if I'm aware and I pay attention to them and I ask questions. So if you have any questions, Michelle, if anybody has anything that they didn't get a chance to ask, email me, find me on social media, find Althea on social media. And don't be afraid to ask the question. The worst thing that happens is I don't answer you and your life is the same damn way it was before you asked the question.
Here you go.
So,
well, this is my favorite part. Everybody in the chat, let's blow Matt and Althea up with our
Althea,
gratitude.
this lady's 89. He's almost 90.
That's amazing. Let's blow them up with our gratitude for sharing their precious time with us today. We sincerely never take for granted the fact that you just shared a whole hour of your lives with us, and we really appreciate it. And I hope that you love all of the comments in the chat. It's one of my favorite.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say is when you see this 89-year-old woman whipping around on her scooter at family reunion, pull her over and take a picture with her, because if you don't, she's going to run your ass over. So you might as well stop her so you don't get hit.
That's amazing. So next month we have another Wealth Building Wednesday. It is going to be on March the 6th. And Teresa, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have the one and only Kimber Manketti next month. So I'm excited for you guys to learn from Kimber. Her and her husband, Bo, have a very successful real estate business in the Washington, D.C. area. They own multiple market centers. They're avid developers, and Kimber's also a regional director in the Maryland, D.C. region. So she's one that you won't want to miss. Matt and Althea, you just made my day by surprise visiting us. Thank you so much. It was wonderful having you join us today. Matt, it's always good to see you. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate y'all.
Have a good one, everybody.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.